Well, a dream honeymoon turns into a nightmare for a new couple and their families. It's now been 10 years since George Smith vanished during his honeymoon cruise.
His family has never given up hope of discovering the truth, but a new development has put their quest for justice in jeopardy. Richard Schlesinger has more on the decade-old cold case.
You can't look at the water and at the sea without remembering what happened to George. It's got too many bad memories for me now.
Maureen and George Smith have grieved for a decade, ever since their 26-year-old son vanished on his honeymoon cruise in the Aegean Sea. He left behind a huge bloodstain beneath his balcony and a boatload of intrigue.
I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that my son was murdered on that cruise ship.
The story of George Smith's last hours began with a shipboard police interview. Turkish police had gathered the last men known to see George alive. The men claimed that after a night of partying, they had tucked George into bed and left his cabin.
After we dropped him off, we closed the door, we never saw him. Never saw him again. End of story. That was it. Never saw him again.
No one has ever been charged in connection with George's death. This past January, the FBI announced it was officially closing the case. George's sister, Bree.
The New Haven FBI has determined that there is not sufficient evidence to continue the investigation.
When we were called in for the meeting that finally closed the case down, it was just devastating to my family.
How do you collect 97,000 pages of an investigation to determine, after almost 10 years, that an accident may have occurred?
Despite the new obstacle, the Smiths are just as determined. They are still offering a $100,000 reward for any information that leads directly to an arrest and conviction.
They could shut down the investigation, but they're not going to shut down me, and I'm going to continue until there is answers and justice for George.
Richard Schlesinger, CBS News.
And joining us now is Senior Executive Producer of 48 Hours, Susan Zirinsky. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So 48 Hours has been on this case for a really long time. Is that unusual for a case like this?
Well, you know, one of the things we pride ourselves on is we stay with the story. When you even think it's over, it's not over. Court cases get overturned. In this case, it's particularly painful because for 10 years, and it literally is 10 years, our show airs on July 4th, and it was between the night of July 4th and 5th, a decade ago, when George Smith disappears. It's the happiest of time, couples on the honeymoon, and quite frankly, it just had something in it that the family felt wasn't right. And listen, the way the piece actually talked about this a little bit, George Smith, it was a night of partying, he had had a lot of liquor, he was gambling, and he was with this group of guys. Literally, his wife had too much to drink, she passes out in a hallway, and he's never seen again. A teenager in a cabin close by wakes up in the morning and sees something unusual on a canopy, blood. She takes photographs of the blood. Police investigate. They investigate the guys that were with him. There was a videotape that came up several years after he disappeared, and the kids were talking kind of disparagingly about it. The family's attorney thought, this is gold. But the truth is, last year, 9 years, the FBI assigns a new group of people. The parents put out a $100,000 reward, which we mentioned, still there. But this January, the FBI said, not enough. Not enough to continue this investigation. There were 97,000 documents in this case. The family was just shattered because they are convinced. The family, we went to talk to them just a couple days ago because we wanted to see what's their course of justice. So they're pushing hard on the $100,000. They are literally not giving up, and they absolutely believe it was a murder. You know, there's that point of which when the investigators give up, it's really tough. Sometimes it's the investigators that push really hard. That's what we watch for. But with this family, we're there with them. And it's pretty heartfelt, but it's a decade. The wife, incidentally, I just want to say, was absolutely cleared. She's remarried. She's tried to go on with her life. But what a nightmare. I mean, truly.
Very big nightmare. We're going to be watching. Z, thanks so much. Susan Zirinsky, thanks for joining us.
And don't forget to catch that full report, Murder at Sea, tomorrow on 48 Hours. That's at 10, 9 Central on CBS. We'll be right back. This is CBSN.